Right now, as you watch this, your face has been scanned, cataloged, and stored in a database you never consented to. China's surveillance machine is not just watching its own people anymore. It is watching you. And here is the part that should terrify you. The social credit system everyone fears in China. The infrastructure for it already exists in your country. Every camera, every phone, every camera on your street, every app on your phone, every transaction you make. It is all being recorded. The only difference between you and a Chinese citizen right now is one single thing. The switch has not been flipped. Yet. Today, we are going to expose the global surveillance architecture that nobody wants you to understand. Because once you see the pattern, you cannot unsee it. The social score. In 2014, China launched what it called a social credit system. On the surface, they sold it as a way to build trust in society. Citizens who paid their bills on time, obeyed traffic laws, and followed the rules would earn a high score. Sounds reasonable, right? That is exactly how they wanted you to feel. As the great thinker Noam Chomsky once put it, the smart way to keep people passive and obedient is to strictly limit the spectrum of acceptable opinion. Here is what they do not tell you. A low score means you cannot buy plane tickets. You cannot book train seats. Your children can be denied entry to good schools. Your face appears on public screens labeled as untrustworthy. Banned, blacklisted, erased. Over 40 million people have already been blocked from traveling because of low scores. 40 million. And the system is not just tracking payments. It tracks what you post online, who you associate with, what you buy, even what video games you play. Your entire life, reduced to a single number controlled by the state. But China is just the prototype. And that brings us to something far more disturbing. Beyond China, most people hear about China's surveillance and think, well, that could never happen here. Really? Let me ask you something. When was the last time you read a terms of service agreement before clicking accept? You did not. Nobody does. And buried inside those agreements is permission to track your location, record your voice, scan your contacts, and sell your data to third parties, including governments. In 2013, Edward Snowden revealed that the NSA was collecting phone records of millions of Americans, not suspected criminals, everyone. The United Kingdom's GCHQ was tapping fiber optic cables to intercept global communications. The surveillance infrastructure was already built while you were sleeping. Australia passed laws forcing tech companies to create backdoors for government access. France expanded emergency surveillance powers after 2015 and never rolled them back. Germany's BND was caught monitoring its own allies. NSA, GCHQ, BND, DGSE. Every major democracy has built the tools for total surveillance. They just gave them different names and different justifications. But the capability is identical to China's. And the question nobody wants to ask is what happens when the justification changes. Your digital trail. Think about your average morning. You wake up and check your phone. That is your location logged. You scroll social media. That is your interests profiled. You ask your smart speaker for the weather. That is your voice recorded. You drive to work past 17 cameras. That is your route tracked. You tap your card for coffee. That is your purchase history updated. Tracked. Before you have even started your day, dozens of systems have recorded your behavior. And none of this data disappears. It accumulates. It builds a profile so detailed that algorithms can predict what you will do before you do it. In 2018, researchers at Cambridge University proved they could determine your personality, political views, and psychological vulnerabilities using just your Facebook likes. Not your posts, just your likes. If this pattern is starting to disturb you, hit like and subscribe to keep exposing what they hide. Because what comes next connects all the dots. As the philosopher Mitchell Foucault warned, visibility is a trap. The more visible you are to the system, the more controllable you become. And they are making sure you stay visible at all times. The money trail. Follow the money. Always follow the money. The global surveillance industry is worth over $200 billion and growing every single year. Companies like Palantir, founded with CIA venture capital, sell predictive policing software to cities across the world. Clearview AI scraped billions of photos from social media to build a facial recognition database and sold access to law enforcement in over 20 countries. Your face is now a product, being sold without your consent. Israel's NSO group created Pegasus, spyware capable of turning any smartphone into a full surveillance device. It was sold to governments that used it against journalists, activists, and political opponents. Palantir NSO, Clearview. These are not fringe operations. These are publicly traded companies with government contracts worth billions, and here is what makes this especially dangerous. Unlike China, where surveillance is openly state-run, in the West it is privatized. Corporations collect the data, governments buy access, and nobody is held accountable. The profit motive ensures the surveillance machine only grows. It never shrinks. And the companies building it are now partnering with something far more powerful. Silent partners. In 2013, we learned that every major tech company you use daily was cooperating with government surveillance programs. Google, Apple, Facebook, Microsoft, all of them. The program was called PRISM, and it gave the NSA direct access to their servers. As Benjamin Franklin once warned us, those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. But it goes deeper than PRISM. Amazon sells facial recognition technology to police departments across America. Google was secretly developing a censored search engine for China called Project Dragonfly. Microsoft provides cloud infrastructure for intelligence agencies worldwide. The line between Silicon Valley and the surveillance state has completely dissolved. And these partnerships are not limited to America. Chinese tech giants like Huawei, ZTE, and Hikvision have built surveillance infrastructure in over 80 countries across Africa, Asia, and Latin America. China is exporting its surveillance model to the entire developing world. They call it smart city technology. It is anything but smart for the citizens being watched. But what makes the Western version uniquely dangerous is something few people ever discuss. Western model. China's social credit system is centralized. One government, one score, one system. The Western model is far more insidious because it is decentralized and invisible. You already have a social credit score. You just do not call it that. 1. Your credit score determines where you live. 2. Your insurance score sets what you pay for health. 3. Your social media decides if you get hired. 4. Your search history controls what you see. These are not conspiracy theories. These are documented practices used by banks, employers, insurance companies, and tech platforms right now. Credit insurance, social search. A study by the University of Arkansas found that 70% of employers screen candidates' social media before hiring. Insurance companies use data brokers to adjust your premiums based on purchasing habits. Banks deny loans based on the neighborhood you live in. The system already judges you. It just never shows you the score. In China, at least you know you are being rated. In the West, you are scored in the dark. Nobody tells you. Nobody asks permission. And this silent scoring system has a long and deeply disturbing history. The playbook. Every surveillance state in history followed the exact same playbook. First, create a crisis. Second, use the crisis to justify emergency powers. Third, make the emergency permanent. The Nazis used the Reichstag fire to pass the Enabling Act. The Soviets used the threat of counter-revolution to build the KGB. As the journalist H.L. Mencken once observed, the whole aim of practical politics is to keep the populace alarmed by menacing it with an endless series of hobgoblins. After September 11th, the United States passed the Patriot Act in 45 days. A 400-page bill that most members of Congress admitted they never fully read. It authorized mass surveillance, indefinite detention, and warrantless searches. It was supposed to be temporary. Over 20 years later, most of its provisions are still active. COVID accelerated this pattern globally. Contact tracing apps, vaccine passports, movement restrictions, all normalized in months. Emergency powers granted during crisis are never fully returned. The tools built for one crisis always find new purposes. That is not paranoia. That is pattern recognition. And the next phase of this pattern involves something humanity has never faced before. The AI upgrade. Artificial intelligence has fundamentally changed the surveillance equation. Before AI, governments had more data than they could possibly analyze. Millions of hours of footage, billions of phone records, trillions of data points. Most of it sat unused because human analysts could never process it all. AI changed everything because now every single piece of data can be analyzed in real time. Facial recognition systems can now identify you in a crowd of thousands with 99% accuracy. Emotion detection algorithms claim to read your mood from micro-expressions. Predictive systems flag you as a potential threat before you have done anything wrong. Facial emotion predictive. China already uses AI to monitor its Uyghur population in Xinjiang, tracking their movements, relationships, and even their prayers. But Western companies are deploying the exact same technology. As the historian Yuval Noah Harari warned, we are now hackable animals. The whole idea that humans have this soul or spirit and nobody knows what is happening inside me, that is over. The technological barrier to total surveillance has been completely removed. The only barrier remaining is political will, and that barrier is thinner than you think. The cashless trap. There is one final piece of the surveillance puzzle that will make the entire system complete: the elimination of cash. Think about what cash represents. It is the last anonymous transaction you can make. No record, no trace, no permission needed. When cash disappears, the last door to financial privacy closes forever. Sweden is already 98% cashless. China's digital yuan tracks every transaction in real time. The European Central Bank is developing a digital euro. The Federal Reserve is exploring a digital dollar. Control. Every central bank digital currency gives governments the ability to see every purchase you make, freeze your accounts instantly, and even program your money to expire or restrict what you can buy with it. Canada showed us this is not theoretical. During the trucker protests in 2022, the government froze bank accounts of donors without court orders. Frozen, blocked, controlled. Digital currency is not about convenience, it is about total control. In a cashless world, combined with AI surveillance and social scoring, the government does not need to arrest you. They simply turn off your money. And that brings us to the most important question of all. Activation point. Everything I have described, the cameras, the data collection, the AI analysis, the digital currency, it all exists right now. In your country, in your city, on your phone. The infrastructure for a complete social credit system is not something being built. It is already built, and it is waiting to be activated. So what is the activation point? History tells us it is always the same thing: a crisis. A real crisis or a manufactured one. It does not matter which, because the response is always identical: more surveillance, more control, less freedom, permanently. As the great Plato once warned, the price of apathy towards public affairs is to be ruled by evil men. The difference between a free society and a surveillance state is not the technology. The technology is the same everywhere now. The difference is whether citizens are aware enough to push back, whether they understand what they are surrendering every time they trade privacy for convenience. The surveillance machine does not need your permission. It only needs your silence. And right now, most of the world is silent. China did not invent surveillance. It simply stopped pretending it was something else. Every developed nation on Earth has built the same machine. The same cameras, the same algorithms, the same data pipelines, the same capability for total control. The only thing separating you from a social credit score is a political decision that has not yet been made. Aware, informed, awake. But knowledge is the first line of defense, and now you have it. If you made it this far, comment "not my silence" if you refuse to be another cog in the machine. As George Orwell wrote, in a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. Every government lies. The question is, what are they lying about? The truth is out there. You just have to follow the money. Subscribe if you want to keep digging.